Boss, and welcome to the Orc Fort podcast. This is Xu'rek, and today I have Mr. Bajshot himself. The Outlands detective joins us for an awesome episode where we discuss a little bit of everything regarding his character, the RP behind it, and his experiences on Outlands so far. So, grab your bottle of grog, sharpen that blood axe, and march into the Orc Fort. Catch a seat next to the campfire and enjoy today's episode. All right, Bash, is it Bajshot? I've always wanted to ask you how to pronounce your name, man. But welcome to the podcast. Let's start off by you explaining how do you pronounce your name and where you got the name from, Bash.
All right, so it's actually Bajshot, but you can pronounce it any way you want, truthfully, because I thought of the name when I was like 12 years old, logging into OSI. I just thought it sounded cool. That's literally like how it came about. And when I got onto Outlands, I thought, well, why change old things? And I just used that name.
So okay, so that name is that old?
Yes.
Oh, dang, okay. Yeah, I always say Baj, but Bajshot. Okay, we can work with either one, I guess. Tomato. But welcome, man. We've talked about this for a while. I'm actually excited to be able to do it. When I think of human characters, originally when I thought of doing this and just getting role players together, I was thinking primarily orcs, maybe some vile guys, some brigands, but there's some distinct characters across the board, and I have to say, man, and this isn't blowing smoke up your ass just to say, but you are one of the most fun people to role play around, and I think that's a common sentiment. I think I speak for a lot of role players, so we do appreciate you, man, and the fun you've had, and it is an absolute pleasure, man. Thank you for being on the show.
Well, I very much appreciate it. My dog's losing their mind at something outside. I apologize.
It's all right. Yeah, I don't think the audio picks it up. So.
Oh, dang. All right. Well, it was loud to me, but yeah. I really very much enjoy the RP community here. It's been very welcoming, and Outlands is actually my first true experience with Ultima, because when I played Outland or when I played OSI, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was only allowed to play like an hour at night, because I had to like focus on schoolwork. I never did anything, never went anywhere with it. But I did love the game, and even though I didn't understand it, but getting onto Outlands, it's completely changed my original impression of the game. And yeah, I really do enjoy the RP community here, and I wish there was more of it, to be honest. But I get it. There's people that don't really want to RP. They just want to farm, and they just want to, or they want to run around on reds and do whatever it is they want to do, and I get that. That's why Ultima is great, because it facilitates all that.
Yeah.
But I do wish there was more like role play. And also, thank you for the kind words, sir. I very much appreciate it.
No problem. Yeah, man, I very much am excited for this. And one of the first things I wanted to ask you, and I kind of asked everyone this, but I'll skip the background history. We all know now that you started playing when you were 12, but what brought you to Outlands?
Trammy Surprise videos, or what was it? Trammy Surprise? What was the guy's name that he would go around? He was actually the brother of one of the marshals, or is the brother of one of the marshals in Path. He used to do a lot of videos early in Outlands, and yeah, he had a lot of red videos and some thieving videos and such as that, and my brother got into it, and he started doing boomboxing, and he was laughing his ass off, having fun doing that, and I thought, man, I haven't played Ultima in a really long time, and it's free, might as well give it a shot, and, it just took off from there. I killed my first red because I decided that I wasn't going to run anymore, but I was just going to stand my ground, and it was going to cost me what it was going to cost me in loot and gear, but by God, I was going to fight back. And I killed my first red. It turned out my first red, we killed each other at the exact same time. And it
like
was
in the
cold
movies,
pressed.
when you two swords come and y'all both die together kind of thing?
Correct. That's exactly how it happened. And Cold Press actually has it on video because he was the red that happened with, and it was back when Baj was still a parry fencer, which made no sense. But I didn't understand the mechanics of the game at the time, so that's what happened. And
No, but that's like, if you think about, that's really cool, because I think the main thing, a lot of people, it's like a breakthrough they have to make in their minds. They have to say, "Fuck it, yeah, I'm gonna die here, but I'm gonna die on my feet." You know what I mean? I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die swinging. And I think most people, a lot of people, don't have that breakthrough. You know, and you notice it whenever there's like 10 blues running out to a gate with one red in there. I'm like, y'all know y'all could just turn on the guy and he's fucking smoked, right? You know, but it's this it's like the gazelles, man, when they see one lion, right? The whole herd just fucking jets.
nobody wants to be the guy left behind while everybody else escapes.
Nobody. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so that brought you to Outlands, a little video, and you had that experience. So at that point, is that when the concept behind, I'm going to call you Bash, because in my head for years that's what I've called you, but is that where the character was born, or were you already sort of this blue, red chasing detective character before?
I always wanted and when I originally started playing Ultima way back in OSI, and it's a holdover, you could say, I always wanted to be a bounty hunter guy. I wanted to go get and kill people and like take their heads in and get bounties. That was just the coolest character idea to me. And so upon killing my first red
Yeah.
and dying
Yeah.
at the same time, I knew I had to have more of it. I was just like, all right, this is where it's gonna be. And I immediately went on to Discord and looked up who, I think I got into the general chat and was like, who do I? Oh, no, 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 no. We found out about Pathfinders because my brother got onto Trammy's videos while he was streaming and asked we should look for, and he said go to Pathfinders. That's what
that's so
happened.
big. That's so big, because that kind of speaks to the impact that one little suggestion or help from a new player can have, right? Like, I get messages quite often, not like a lot, but enough to where, I'm like having these conversations with new players who are like, what's an orc? How do I join? What are the rules? What are this? Who's this? And then they like end up not joining us anyway and go, when they realize we don't let them use majory and mounts and shit, right? Then they go somewhere else. But you know what? I'm like, this guy could probably have an impact on the server, and it could be a whole lot of fun. And who knows, he might be an enemy or a friend in a year's time, So look at that, man. Just one suggestion, and there you are in the big Path Guild.
Yep, it's actually crazy, and I think about that sometimes. It's like that's why I always try to help new people, and that's I always and it actually also plays kind of into the mentality of how I engage into the game as well. Like if I'm running into a dungeon and I'm on Sanct Cross and I see a blue dead and it doesn't look like he's been looted, but maybe he was killed by the reds or maybe not, I'll generally stop and res that person. And it's like during combat, I will stop and res blues or greens that die if I can, because it's like it seems counterintuitive. It's like you want to chase the reds, you want to kill them, but it's like it does more logistically speaking, and for people's like morale and mentality if you are able to like not have tunnel vision, and all of that's like the same philosophy is what I'm trying to get at, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that makes sense to me, and I think one of the things too, I think there's two breakthroughs I think people have to have when it comes to playing Ultima Online, when it comes to PvP or anything really. One is that red mentality that they're not gods, bro. If two people turn on Evil Fireblade, someone as notorious as that guy, who I don't know personally, but I know he's a popular red. If two decent PVMers turn on the guy, you can kill him. If you are semi-decent, three guys for sure can. But it's this idea that, like you said, don't want to be the one to get got, so you all kind of run. That's the first one. And I think the second one is you don't have to play what everyone else is playing, and I think you did that better than others in a space where dying and surviving is everything. In the PvP space, bro, like, soon as someone dies, that PvP channel gets blown up, right? And people start talking crap left and right. So you went and said, hey, I don't want to just be a sink dumping human or whatever everyone else is doing. I'm going to be this detective. Talk to us about that, man. I'm curious where kind of, how you approached it, what those early days were, because I'm sure early on it wasn't as successful. And are you ever tempted to go to the dark side, bro, and just go do what everyone else is doing?
That was several questions, and I will try to remember all of them
My
because
bad. My bad.
I notoriously I smoke a lot of weed, so I don't know if that's something that's bad for the podcast or
Oh,
not.
no
But
one cares.
and I did blaze right before this interview, so my mind may skip to and fro. But the detective thing. So originally, when we first started fighting Reds, I started using detect hidden because nobody else had it, and it was something that seemed to be recurring, where it was like, oh, the Reds hid over here somewhere, no one can find them, and people would do things like throw explosion pots and stuff on the ground. And I figured, well, if we're always fighting, and this is back when, man, what year was it? Like 2021, something like that. There was a lot more Reds on the Shard than there is now, and that's another thing we might should talk about. But the there was a lot more Reds and a lot bigger groups, so it wasn't always as zergy as it is now with the way Path is and a lot of the PK anti-call-out alliance stuff. But nobody ever had detect hidden, so these Reds could just hide and essentially steal initiative and be in control of the fight, like when to engage and when to not. And that's how it got started. And it didn't originally start for like hunting thieves and all that, but it evolved into that when it turned into the red hand system, because then it allowed me to, of course, see the thieves before they would act. And usually, and that was honestly the most broken thing about thieving, which the red hand system fixes, is that you have an answer for the thief before they go and steal something from your pack that's so vital that you can't fight back.
Yeah,
And
dude.
so,
The when they steal the bandages or the pots, oof, that's brutal, man.
right. And so it's like the thief build is not overpowered insofar as like if you know what you're looking for and can stay on top of it and try not to be in one place at all the time, blah blah blah. But nobody was really doing that when it first came out, and uh, I knew I was hooked on it the moment I killed a thief at the bank that was just super stacked with stuff. And because he poured it in, it was when Horseshoe Bay was still the original Horseshoe Bay before the big event, before it got remade into what it is now. And uh, that changed everything because
It's all good. I think
sorry,
it's all good, man. No, but I think that's a big deal actually. Those early days, man. I don't think I was around for 2021 days. I think I joined the server. I think 2022, maybe late 2022, early 2023. So I wouldn't have been around for the original time slot there.
and I never actually like had it out for thieves or anything. And a lot of people that make detectives and whatnot, they make them because they have out like personal vendettas and whatnot. And my genesis was never really that way. It was when I realized I could be a detective, I just like went full force with it because it was just like this is like the epitome of exactly like the character that I always wanted to be when I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like Dog the Bounty Hunter, and so dude is literally a dog man.
Yeah, and you definitely got that idea. Like, you definitely nailed it, man. Because the times we do those slaughter moons or the blood moons, you know what I'm saying? When the orcs amass and first of all, we're not really like we are PKs in the sense that we kill players, right? So we're player killers, but we're not in the sense that we have it like down to a science or nothing. We just amass with whatever we got, a bunch of archers, and just run into a dungeon. And we don't even. Our goal isn't to make it out with loot. You know what I mean? Our goal is just to cause chaos. But some of us will hide, right? So we'll hide, and it's all good because all these blues just passes up, and then we see your fucking name, and we're like, oh my god, this motherfucker here, dude.
And see, that's actually also kind of that's a double-edged sword I'd like to bring up because there was a while, and if you notice, stealth reds are starting to make like a slow comeback, kind of, because there's not as many detectors as there was when when I started streaming. and I haven't streamed in a long time, and or at least consistently in a long time. When I originally started streaming, we had this thing called Blue Hands, where there was a group in Path where you'd make a detective. It would be like a role play detective kind of thing, and we would go hunt thieves and reveal reds and whatnot. And I'm not trying to it's not like something I say to brag about, because honestly I'm not truly proud of it. We exterminated so many thieves, and I don't mean like oh they're they don't play thieves anymore. I mean like they probably quit the shard level, like extermination.
Damn.
And we hurt the thief population so fucking bad, and we hurt the stealth red population so fucking bad that they only recently are starting to recover. I let the blue hands die because I realized what was happening. It's like I wasn't having fun anymore because there was no one to have fun with.
Yeah, no,
Every
I will say this, dude. As an orc, and you know, what I'm saying, who does the dungeon runs and stuff. You guys, the path guys, man, when y'all would respond, this is just it was an unstoppable force, honestly. You know, and like what's funny is like I always say this. I like to call out hypocrisy in myself, Bash, because I feel like it keeps me grounded. You know what I mean, and it makes me kind of keep my eye on what's truly valuable. We'll even be like I'll even be with some orc blues, and we're like PVM orcs or whatever, and we're running a dungeon, and red storm in, and then we'll be in voice, and then they'll be like, "Oh, good, Pat's here." I'm like, y'all were just bitching about these guys killing us last night, you know what I mean? And now here we are, and it just speaks to how good you guys were at eradicating reds. I wasn't around. I didn't see much about the thief stuff, but I believe you, man. So that's a little different, right? Because these thieves are all just hidden in the dungeons. It's like a different dimension, right? Because you go in and you're revealing shit that the blues don't see, right? They don't see these thieves around them. They don't see the stealthers. So in the heyday, that must have been wild, dude. You're just revealing left and right, and these poor blues are just like, oh, who the hell is that? You know?
Correct. I mean, it was, man. It was the wild, wild west when it first got started. And nowadays, when I reveal somebody and I start attacking them, people know the characters that I play enough that most of the time they will start attacking the guy as well. Either that guy has been stalking them for a minute and they already knew, or they know who I am and what I'm about, and they will also attack the guy under the assumption that he's a red hand. And Path is prolific for that stuff. It's so prolific, in fact, that there's been times where blues are running from like reds in a dungeon, and there'll be a Path guy run by like towards the reds, and all the blues will turn around. And it's just like, it's like, now that Path is here, it's like we can all rally around the Path guy. And I call it that. I call it, in the guild chat, I say it's the rally around the flag effect. And when people see a Path guy charging at the reds, they know what the Path guy is about. And so it forms like a little bit of a cohesion. And that's a thing that happens when I'm just running around hunting thieves too. It's like blues will school around me, is what I call it. Like we're like hungry fish, because especially if somebody says, hey, there's a thief around here, and they see me running around looking for that guy, they'll all start gathering around me. And when I reveal the guy, that the dude is dead, like in seconds.
What's funny is that your character has been called like a meme build for a while. I've heard it. I heard the term used 2 or 3 times, and at first I was like, okay, yeah, he's doing something different to have fun. But when I see it work, I'm like, nah, he's doing this because this shit works. Because these guys are hidden. You can't reveal them otherwise, right? As a Dexter, so you're actually doing this out of necessity, not just fun and necessity, right? A bit of both.
Correct. And it's like my original. I don't have any of my old videos, but in my original streams, it's like it would often be me going and finding like 3 stealth reds and like fighting them on my own, because it's like, during the days Path that I was streaming, Path wouldn't have like a strong response because it was like daytime hours and shit. But it's like, it is a mean build, but it's mean strategically. It's not mean tactically. If we're talking about Bajshot here specifically, if we're talking about Sanct Cross, that guy is a total shitter build. I can't really describe it as any other way, because he's a summoner detector. He's a detect summoner. It sounds like it would be weak, and in some circumstances, like Overland, garbage. It's garbage Overland. But in a dungeon, like with mobs bearing down on all of us, it is fucking scary what that build can do. And I can mob dump people like with all release and invisibility and shit that it's just terrifying. I killed 2 reds in SSC, was it 2 days ago? They were chasing me. I primed like 3/4 of the mobs with my Earth Ellies, and then ended up I rope tellied away, hit all release, ran through the door, and all of those mobs were dumped on them. I came back a few minutes later, and they were both dead in the spot that I had left them. They died almost instantly, kind of shit.
Yeah, I think that's one thing I don't, and I always say I play the game, but I don't really play the game like in the sense that the mechanics and I don't understand a lot. I don't really I choose to be ignorant to a lot of that stuff. It makes me kind of want to play the game more, but um, you I think are talking about something that I think is the true end game, and it's the true meta, which is if you can get the mobs to kill these PvP flag people, dude, easy money, you know.
Right, and I call it the no flag strategy. It's like if I never personally flag on somebody and can kill you with mobs and dungeon, well, it's really just what the build is for. It's like if my build was designed to stand its ground, I would stand my ground more often, but I specifically build and use this template in this manner for this reason. And mainly it's because like a lot of reds, and not all the reds, but a lot of reds will try and run you through mobs. And so I designed and play this guy in a way to specifically counter that strategy. I call it anti-chase. If that's the only way that I can really describe it, and I can't really put into words the exact philosophy behind it. I could only show it in videos, kind of, but it's like it's a fine balance between chasing and pushing the guy forward while also like corralling the mobs behind you. And the longer the chase goes on and the more mobs you can keep corralled behind you, if the guy ever turns on you, you can cross paths with them and then dump the mobs onto them. Especially if the chase has been going on for a long time and you have like 100 mobs behind you. You have like the whole dungeon behind you.
That's fucking hilarious, dude. That's yeah. Now that I think about it, it happens more often times than I think because you guys are always so strategic with it, man. You know, so it's like these dungeons you've run through these fucking corridors probably thousands of times at this point, and so it's like you know every nook and cranny. So when you play someone with that experience, man, it shows, you know, and they're able to fucking get you every time, dude. And there's nothing worse than dying to mobs. Oh, it sucks.
And also, it's like, as a detector, and a tracker, it's like tracking gives me a DPS bonus, right? But as a mage, and the way that I play, it's not, the DPS really isn't that important. It's like, if I could wedge hiding or parry onto my build, I would. My character is honestly really weak. Like in a slugging match, like any other mage or a dexter that has some magery that can do interrupts or something like that on me, you can glass my ass. You really can. But it's all in the context. It's all in the fact that the build is meant to go in and it assumes that I have no help. The build assumes that I am alone all the time and not that I hardly ever am really, because I don't get to play as much, and when I do, it's prime time and there's a lot of people on. But it's like, I never assume. I mean, I forget where I was going with this rambling. Maybe I should just stop.
One thing, I got a question for you. So, how does it work, bro? And you don't have to say anything that you think would be detrimental to you guys, but do y'all have spies everywhere? How the fuck do y'all get to these dungeons so fast, bro? Sometimes I feel like we're there for 30 seconds and then here comes the swarm. Like, how do y'all know so fast? Is it spies or what, man? I'm ignorant to all of this, so enlighten me. How y'all get call outs? Do y'all is this all guild chat, alliance chat? How does it work, man?
Through guild and alliance chat, believe it or not, and used to be. I don't know when the last time that you guys have done a Blood Moon and what the call out experience was on that one, but recently, it's like relatively recent, like in the last year, we don't have the same alliance anymore. We shook up a bunch of things. We dropped a bunch of people, and we formed this thing called the Charter, which keeps our allies from having other allies other than the allies we're all allied with. And so, essentially,
I remember.
Yes, and it's been a godsend because that's another thing that on the whole red extermination side of things, the alliance we had was so overreaching, and because there was like allies of allies of allies that we weren't actually specifically allied with ourselves, we could essentially get call outs. We could essentially get call outs like from anywhere at all times because it was just like that far reaching. Nowadays, it's not that far reaching, and we do have a war party where we have a couple of CFC people in there, and maybe a couple of other like unallied people in there, but they don't really play very much. So it's like nowadays, any callouts we get that's through the war party, it filters through CFC and their alliance, but we're not nearly as on point as we used to be. I don't think. There are days though. It's like was it 2 days ago? We were bloodthirsty, man. We were stacking bodies a couple of days ago.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that people tend to forget is that this game is a sandbox, bro. So like you can make it whatever you want. One of those things can be you can be the popo, you can be the police, right? You can be the path police, and I'll always say, man, there's people. UO Ultima Online brings the best people together, and it brings the fucking worst, bro. Like, and I stand by that. And I think there's a way you can engage in game and do your RP where it's cool, and then there's and there's no issues. Like, no one on the evil side dislikes you, right? Yet you kill them all the time, or you get them discovered and killed all the time, because I think you do it the right way, in my opinion. That's just my 2 cents. And there's a sense of role play in how you do it. I will say, even when it comes to reds, role play reds, or even role play blues, there's some folks who aren't very RP, but there's always this RP element to the way you play the game, where when we see you in the dungeon, man, it's like it truly is a detective. You know what I'm saying? Like, in my mind, that's a detective that just walked in.
And that's the element I strive for. That actually makes me, that makes me feel really good about myself.
It's true, man. It's true. It's like it's because you got the emotes going, you got the sayings going, you got the persona going. I don't know. It's just, it feels like an actual detective versus just a blue that just dumps on you. Which is fair enough. I'm not asking them to do anything different. It's just, there's an RP element to how you do it. So I do tip my hat to you for that, because that shit is awesome.
Well, I do love the orcs, you guys. I mean, I'll be honest. I've been thinking about. I actually do have an orc that I've made, but I haven't done anything with him, and I don't even think he's actually in the guild. But I have been wanting to join you guys for a while, and I was recently given permission by the leadership to do so. So maybe I should do that, and maybe we should do some blood moons.
Yeah, we have we have this one orc who's his name is Heiderg. It's a Elder's alt that he uses for blood moons, but he role plays as basically just a dog. I think his backstory is like he's like an inbred orc with like a wolf or a dog, or raised with dogs. I forgot what it was. He's basically a fucking dog. Like he lifts his hind leg and like pees on things. That's like his role play, and he doesn't actually speak. He just barks and like gnarls and howls and stuff. And
Hell yeah.
And he's the tracker, so like he'll just sniff, and if he gets a hint, he just emotes bark, 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 and we just chase after the dog. He's just running through the woods chasing blues and shit. It's hilarious.
Oh, dude, that's fucking awesome. See, I don't know if he has a specific origin story, but maybe we could like collaborate with something on that, because Baj's origin story is actually he was captured and enslaved by orcs and was saved by the Pathfinders, and he was like broken and kind of turned into a dog man by the orcs. That's why his name is so fucked up. It's a weird orc slang like bullshit term, and so that's why the pronunciation could be anything you want it to be, because it's like the orcs probably didn't really have a specific way of calling his name out. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, it could be. That's funny. That's some good RP shit, because it could be that his name is something like just a perverted, distorted version of his actual name. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually think I posted his origin story on the Orc channel like years ago. I don't know if it's in the
I'll
The
look
RP
for it.
sections
Yeah, I'll
don't.
look for it and I'll post it on the description or on the as an image. But um, let me. So on orcs, man, as badge, you get a call out when there's a blood moon. What's that? What's your? Let me ask you this then. What's your top memorable one or two moments for blood moons? I mean, was there ever a massive one you just recall that was fun? And anything stand out to you as memorable when it comes to blood moons?
Well, I don't know if they're specifically blood moon. With blood moons, you guys don't like set up the gates and whatnot and like bar the dungeons. That's not something you guys do for the blood moon. The blood moon is when you rush in and like set ambushes at doors and stuff, right?
Yeah, that's just that concept is like werewolves full moon turns them, so like a blood moon or a blood rock moon, like a rock being the moon is, so we kind of have different names. Some people call it slaughter moon also, but basically it's the concept is of a red moon. So when the red moon appears, it just like it makes us go crazy and we just go kill. So half the time we don't even loot. Half the time it's just go in there naked or something and just kill as many poor humans. We don't do like there's no strategy to it. We just pick a dungeon, go in there and swarm it until we all die. Then we go to the next one.
So there have been times where it's like, okay, so there was this one time in AK, I was struggling. I admit I was struggling hard trying to res these couple of blues. Okay, so you know the tunnel at the entrance of AK3 where it's like you go down the steps, but before you get to the steps, there's that right angle turn, and there's those knights and the skulkers and like that narrow walkway kind of thing.
Yeah,
And they were there, and I was like resin them and trying to keep the stalker off of them. And I was a Dexter, so I didn't have G heal or anything, and I was trying to manage being diseased and getting harassed by these stalkers and the knights, and it was bad. And then it's like I see some I see some blue orcs run by, and I thought, oh, that's cool. And it wasn't even like 3 seconds later, there was like one red orc, and I was like, oh crap! And he runs by me. He doesn't go do anything. He just runs. And I was just like, well, why is there only one red one here? And I was like, I go into the call out channel and I say, there's a red orc in AK, but I'm resin people. And like I said, this is part of something that I do is I try to prioritize resurrections, especially if the red will leave me alone while I'm doing it. And so I also like to let the Reds get invested. You know what I'm saying? I like to let them get down there and play a little bit before I can go in. But as soon as I send that call out, there comes the horde behind me. And I will admit, I just bailed on the Blues. I was like, I cannot res you now. And we go and I go around the door, run down through the door into the entrance of AK3. And there's the red orc, and he hamstrings me right at the entrance of the door right when I come through. And I'm hobbling out the entrance, and then the horde comes behind me, and I just got butchered.
Yeah, dude, it's really fun when we do them, and our idea basically is we always, and I've said this a few times on other episodes, but our goal is not to be seen as just PKs. But it doesn't mean we can't just PK, right? Particularly if it aligns with kind of like our lore. So on Blood Moons, Slaughter Moons, or Blood Rock Moons, Blood Rock Nights, it's just pure blood. So we don't take any prisoners then. But generally speaking, outside of dungeons and outside of Blood Moons, we do always try to demand tribute. So it's always kind of a moral dilemma for an orc when we're doing Blood Moons or Slaughter Moons and we come across and Umis are like, tribute, and it's like, fuck, because if we kill the guy, he's going to think we're dicks. Like, oh, y'all are fake RPs. I gave tribute and you killed me. But it's like, no, our RP is that tonight is the Slaughter Moon, right? So we got to kill you. So it's always kind of a little bit of dilemma. But what I've learned, we just kind of go with what makes sense for us. People are going to like you or hate you no matter what it is. You know what I mean? So you just kind of try to do right by you and keep it pushing.
Right, and let's be real, it's like sometimes it's just good to let loose. I mean, even outside of, the justifications for it, it's like you want to, say RP justifications and all that. It's like that's all fine and good, but it's a sandbox game, and at the end of the day, it's like you said, people are going to hate you or going to love you. And either way, it's like, I've been killed by the orcs. I know there have been people who have been killed by the orcs, and, I don't know of anybody that has anything bad to say about them. I don't know of anybody that goes and gripes about the orcs like they gripe about like RDY and whatnot in the PvP channel, which I also don't even understand that hate either. But maybe it's because I don't play the organized PvP stuff, so I don't know.
You mostly just do callouts. Is that the kind of the main focus for you? Is dungeon callouts?
I want to okay. So somebody at one point referred to me as Captain Save a Ho,
Ah,
and
yeah, you are. You're Captain Sable Blue, bro. Captain
and I
Sable
love
Blue.
that.
That's what you are, dude.
I love that shit. So it's like, yeah, man. And lately, not to toot my own horn on this, I have had some of the sickest rope G heals save a blue during the most horrible fucking circumstances that I've got I've got a montage I mean to put together because I have like a dozen video clips of like random combat actions and things that I would like to make into a montage of some kind, and there is a bunch of those instances.
I will say one thing, and I gotta side with Reds here. What I hate the part of Outlands where if I die on a red in a dungeon after getting a kill, I'm barred from all three accounts for entering for like an hour, dude. That's crazy, man. Because some nights where we're like we get the upper hand on some of the path responses or whatever blue responses there, sir, whoever else is coming. We kill some people and it's like 2 minutes later they're right back, and it's like it just becomes a war of attrition at that point, because even if I kill someone 3 times, if we kill the same guy 2 times and they come back for the third time and then I die, we can't replenish that way. We're locked out of the dungeon, so there's actually no way a red fight can win. Like a mass of reds can stay in a dungeon and overtake it. But then I think that's probably ultimately a good thing, because some of these guys would just take over dungeons and then no one can fucking play them, right? So you always kind of have to look at it like, all right, let's take this logic to the extreme. Okay, now I get why we can't do it. You know what I mean? You have to realize you're in the wrong. You got to hit and leave, bruh. Next dungeon.
And I mean, I'm right there with you. I thoroughly believe that the lockout system is far too extreme. And I've always had the most fun when they've had the least amount of restrictions, but I am a minority. I say nobody, there's obviously like a dedicated PvP base to this, but very few people are, I don't want to use the term masochistic, but not very many people are willing to continually stick their head into the proverbial meat grinder like I am. And that, so it's like, you're right, it's like those reds would take over a dungeon, they would own the dungeon, and it's kind of happened with blues in that sense. Like there was a thing with Darkmire a couple of years ago where Ray Del Tamer or whatever like locked down the boulders and was casting walls and was keeping people from going in it for like a month or some shit, and the devs had to step in and make him quit, and and they did end up doing the changes that he wanted done, but at the end of the day you can't cast walls in the boulders anymore.
Yeah, I know. We've been slapped on the wrist a few times by some of the seers for some of our antics. It's always, the debate is always like, if this is a true sandbox, then we should be able to do whatever we want in the way that we want it. However, the seers and get to determine where that line in the sand is, right? So our big one is that we like to build forts somewhere. So that's just like crates and wood, pieces of shit that we craft. And then we make like little huts, like houses anywhere, walls, etc. But you got to be careful where you place those. We've placed them before, like in front of dungeons, and people have said we've blocked it. You know what I mean? So we've gotten reprimanded for some of those things in the past. We don't do it with malicious intent in the sense where we're truly trying to block it. But if it's close enough, someone might call it blocking. But then it's like, man, I thought this was America. I thought this was a free country. We could do whatever we want, but you can't. So you gotta kind of watch it a little bit. But as long as you kind of have a good intention about it, even as a red, you generally are okay in Outlands.
Well, that's the thing, is there's a lot of reds that genuinely don't have good intentions. There's been some of the most toxic people I have ever dealt with on on Outlands. Like there's this one guy, and I will call him out by name. It's this VV Pronus. He is the only person I have ever banned from my stream, and I have had people come into my stream or like send me messages like all the time talking shit, but nothing like what that guy was saying and doing at the time. So it's like there are some super toxic people that will never act in good faith,
Yeah,
and so it's like, how do you balance that? It's like I would prefer, in an ideal situation, I would prefer there not to be reds at all. I would prefer everybody to always be one color, and you just can't trust nobody. You know what I'm saying? I would prefer there to be like you get jumped by a bunch of blues because everybody's always blues, and you didn't know that they were murderers. It's like, because that's more akin to like actual life.
right. You'd have to remember their names and say that I know that Xu'rek murdered this one guy one time. This orc is evil, and that would have to spread organically. You'd have to tell your guild mates. They'd have to tell other people, hey, this guy's a murderer or he did some shitty stuff in the past.
Yeah, or maybe there could be like some sort of more detailed notoriety system or some shit where it's like, if you have go to the get updated information from somebody in town from an NPC, you have like the latest information on somebody's like murder count or something like that. I don't know.
That would be sick, yeah. Hey, on the topic of in-game mechanics for dungeons, you deal with this all the time. I gotta ask you: 5 reds, 2 blues, just healing them as grays. How do you feel about that mechanic? Where the old I'm not gonna kill you, but I'm gonna heal the red that is, so I don't get counts. What do you think about that? Should they change it? Is it perfect how it is?
I think that it's honestly okay the way that it is, because it's the lesser of a bunch of evils. Because you can't just turn somebody red, I don't think, from healing reds. I mean, maybe you can. I don't know. I think turning them gray makes them attackable, so that's fair. A bigger complaint would be them being able to heal red hands continually, and not being able to attack the person healing the red hand.
Right, because the red hand isn't gray, right, or red or anything, so they're not criminal. They don't flag criminal for healing the red hand.
Correct. So you can have somebody just stand next to you getting G healed, robbing you blind, and there's nothing you can do about it. That mechanic needs fixed somehow, and I don't know how to fix that mechanic. Maybe if I lens the red hand, there's like some sort of penalty put on them where they can't be healed without somebody turning gray to heal them, or
no, red hands almost need their own color, bro. They need to be like purple or some shit, something distinct where it's like they're not gonna get guard whacked, they're not gray, whatever, but they're like if they get maybe like lensed and identified as a red hand, that maybe they've been discovered, quote unquote, and they become wanted. That might even be the term they use. Oh, now they become wanted, and as a wanted thief, now you're identifiable to anyone who sees you in some capacity. Well, they'll know to run away from you for the next 20 minutes or whatever timer. That might be the answer. I don't know.
Yeah, there's got to be. I mean, well, there's a will, there's a way, and I wouldn't want them to not be able to get G healed or anything. I'm not saying that. And the whole idea of being a thief is to be sneaky, but it's like if and bully thieves in this sense, it's like, I mean, as a tactic, it's like if they're making a PK, I don't know, it's complicated. It's like this is the issue of a sandbox. It's like curtailing the power one way like has unintended side effects in like other aspects of the game. And so it's a hard question to answer. And this is why it's like, ultimately for all of my ideas for like quote unquote good game mechanics, and for all anybody else's ideas for quote unquote good game mechanics, there's the fact of the matter is that I don't think anybody can see all the possibilities. Like, what is it? Or it's like something has to stand the test of time for it to be known if it's effective. And so these ideas could all be bad ideas, game mechanically wise, and maybe Owen has data we don't have, and so maybe they're making the right decisions based on the data, and we're just like a minority in the Discord channel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we did this one thing one time on that same topic where we got like 4 bully thief orcs and some blues. So I was one of the blue guys because I've never played a thief, and so I came on a tamer orc, and so I was basically mob control. and these guys would hide. And once a blue started fighting a mob, we would surround the motherfucker, right? So we'd surround the blue and steal his red pots, and then now he's body blocked in, pincered by 4 people. And they would have robbed this poor bastard blind, literally every single thing in his backpack, and all he could do is sit there and complain because one would target the rope, one would target the red pots, and so the guy literally can't do anything. He could try to attack, but then he's gonna die. So it's like, do you let him loot you dry, or do you die? I'm attacking. You know what I mean? I'm gonna attack, but they wouldn't. They just sit there and take it. And a part of me felt bad, but a part of me, it's like, isn't this what would happen if a solo human walked into a dungeon that's invaded by orcs? Wouldn't they do worse or similar things? So like, in a certain way, we are providing that sandbox feel. Like, sorry, bud, there's orcs in this dungeon. You just got, you know?
Right. That's the nature of MMOs, and that's also something that people complain, oh, the Zerg this, the Zerg that. You know, the Zerg hit me with a wiffle ball bat. It's like, unfortunately, MMOs are numbers games, and historically speaking, it wasn't always the case, but historically speaking, bigger numbers win battles, and that's just the way it is. And you're not going to be able to like game mechanic that aspect out. There's always going to be one guild with more people than others, and that's, you know, that's why the lockouts and whatnot exist, is because that's an attempt to try and curtail that aspect. But, you know, truth be told, it's like, that's just and you could say the lockouts have been too effective at that in terms of like controlling the dungeons. Overland, it's the wild west out there. But
well, they have that aggressive that account regress aggression restriction, right? Overland. I don't know if you know
Dishonored?
about that. Where you're dishonored for like 15 minutes after you die, right? After killing someone. So that kind of does pretty good.
Yeah, but honestly, if somebody's fighting some real bad mobs in Overland and they see a red name run up, they might not see the Dishonored. They could be led into bad circumstance that way, and it's like, the lockout's not the same. Dishonored is not near as potent as being locked out.
Yeah, locked out. I'm not saying you're not coming inside, buddy. You're sitting on the outside. So yeah, that's pretty damn powerful.
The bigger issue is that being able to flag on a blue outside and then immediately run into your house over and over again. And I get why that's a mechanic and why that's a possible thing, but at the same time, that's also like super lame.
My pet now since we're talking pet peeves, as I read, if I hit you, one, scripting. I'm of the opinion that ban all scripting. There should be no scripting in this game whatsoever. There should be macros, and scripts should be absolutely banned. There's zero reason. What's the point of having them? I don't get me started. So then the people who have whole characters where they're not doing anything but just logging in, and the character's doing everything. What's the fucking point of playing the game, dude? You're not even playing. But that's my gripe for all eternity. The second thing is the recall guys, man. If I hit you, if I'm a Dexter and I'm shooting arrows and I miss one arrow, which happens all the time, you should not be able to recall between my fucking arrow shots. You know, I hate that the recall can happen so quickly. There's so many instances where people just recall out, recall. It drives me nuts, dude.
Well, that's part of the scripting thing where it's like, if tracking is detected, then, you know, recall spell, click book, or whatever.
Yeah, I absolutely despise it. I think it's dumb, and I think they should do two things. They should ban the test center and ban scripting. That would make the game infinitely better.
Ban the test center?
Oh yeah, I'm banned test center, bro. I'm the only person on the campaign, but I'm gonna grow it one day, and we will get it banned, dude.
Why ban the test center? You have to elaborate on this.
It's the worst thing, bro. Like, okay, I get it for like clothes and shit before you buy it. So put a fitting room in Prevalia. Okay, that's my put a fitting room and let people try on their Ken doll costume things there. Okay, but in terms of the aspects, in terms of all these things, that should be discovered naturally. all of these things, if the pet makeups, all of these things, that you should figure that out naturally. Frost aspect comes out, dude. 10 seconds in, but actually before it even drops, it drops on Test Center. So before the damn aspect drops, people know, oh, it sucks. We're not gonna do it. Like, it hasn't even dropped yet. It's not even real yet. You know what I mean? So I'm of the opinion that we should learn the game as you go. It's more real that way. It's more fun that way. This isn't a sprint, bro. We're not trying to figure out the solution to everything immediately. You know, we don't need to figure out the best build immediately. It's a long-term thing, you know, and the changes come, and experience the changes naturally is what I say, you know. I did aspect, and I did fire aspect when I first started. Did it for a couple of levels, realized I didn't like it, or earth aspect, realized I didn't like it, and I switched. You know what I mean? I didn't even really read too much into the stats or anything. So anyway, I don't want to get on that rant, bro, but yeah, ban the whole shit. I'm just play the game, log in, click on things like you're supposed to, play the dang game.
So I can sort of see where you're coming from on that, because let's frame that from the perspective of what you were asking me earlier about how do I fall into the detective thing. If I was using Test Center and whatnot, I probably never would have fallen into the same pattern of play that because in the game I came in and was just like, what does the group need? That was how I approached the situation. I was like, and somebody said, we could really use a detect guy, but nobody wants to sacrifice the 100 points. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm your fucking Huckleberry. And,
right.
and it wasn't, it's like in that instance, that kind of gameplay never would have come across in the use of a test center or anything like that. I could see that. But then again, I guess that's a PvP thing, so maybe it's not directly relatable, but I do see it's the natural, I wasn't seeking a meta is what my overarching goal was. It's like I wasn't seeking a meta for myself. I was seeking a natural answer to a question that the group needed. You know what I'm saying? And so that's yeah. I can sort of I follow that philosophy is what I'm getting at.
Well, and also another last point on this is people go on test. They actually play a dungeon on test, and they sit there and run it, and they're playing this fake world. And they discover whatever build they're gonna. They're like, when I hit 30 links, brother, you have 4. Whatever the fuck works at 30 is not gonna work for you for another year and a half anyway. And by that time, whatever build you think is good now isn't gonna be good then. So find whatever you like to play. Don't and then just play it. That's my philosophy. Because if you're just chasing whatever build, if you go taming right now because you feel taming is back on. In 6 months when it's back off, you're just going to drop it again. And then now you need to buy all these new links. So you need to farm more gold. So now you're just chasing the dragon, like in South Park. You know what I mean? The South Park episode, they're just chasing the dragon. Just stick whatever you think is fun. You thought this character was fun since you were little. You thought of a decent way to play him where he was productive. You probably would have gotten more kills early on playing the meta PvP setup, but you did it. You know what I mean? You played whatever you thought would be fun, and it was helpful. No one else wanted to give up their 100 points, so you did, and bam, here you are. I dare say, the more memorable Path member in terms of role play.
Did you? Speaking of, and I do appreciate that, but speaking of memorable Pathfinders, and this is my turn to answer a question. Are there other Pathfinders that you know by name that you would like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, there's a few, man. I mean, Steel is one. Namir, Talmain's obviously the notorious Pathfinder, killed by him many times in the dungeons. Nodvana, dude, I really like Nodvana from a roleplay standpoint. They're awesome. Oh man, who else? Yeah, the names are escaping me. That's a good 4 or 5 there though. But there's other ones that I've had. El Makra, I actually never seen the guy talk. I've never seen the guy talking game, but I appreciate his play style because he's pretty ruthless.
He actually runs emotes like I do. A Macra does, and he's pretty chatty in the guild chat. But,
is he? Yeah. Is he? Yeah. Oh, Shobin. I can't forget Shobin. He's awesome.
Yeah, that's Mac. Macton.
Yeah, Mac. I can't forget Mac. He's good. There's a bunch of good ones, man. There's a bunch of awesome role players. And at the end, I always, because some of the orcs take this shit too serious, man. Just like all UO players, and they're like, path is just. I'm like, dude, they're playing the game. It's a sandbox. You can't mass up and want to murder innocent people and get mad when someone stops you. You know what I mean? It's just I welcome it because it's almost what we look after. There's some instances where we're like, okay, it kind of does. Some mechanics could be improved here and there, but the fact that people log in and we play the game in a similar enough fashion is fucking awesome to me. That's awesome.
Also, I would also like to say on the subject of Macra and massing up and killing people, Macra and I have both multiple times in the past after blood, or not blood, but it's okay. So when we've killed you guys a couple of times in some dungeons, and then you guys will get called out like a third time or something like that, and Macra and I will just be like, yeah, we're not going, and we're just not going to respond to that, and we'll corral we hope most of the alliance, because we end up getting people agreeing with us to not go into that particular call out to let you guys have the dungeon. And I'm not sure if you guys have ever noticed like that maybe sometimes our response suddenly gets really weak when you guys are running around, and if you do, that's because we're pulling our punches on purpose. And I try to do that more often than not because, like I said, I want there to be more reds, and I don't want there to be as many lockouts, and I want everybody to have fun so that we can continue this thing going forward. And it's like, if I'm only ever selfish and say that I want kill, and screw everybody else, then nobody's having fun except me for that very, very short duration, and then that sucks.
Yeah, that's how we feel about blue. So if we kill someone and we notice they have like, the heater shield, bro. Once we see the heater shield, it's like we kill them, we res them, we let them keep their shit. We might take like their food or something like that, whatever they have, But we don't want a world where that's a very low hanging fruit, True role play and the game. For us, the true fun in it is when you run up to a human and they're like, I have tribute, and they're like bowing and throwing gold down. That's the win, bro. Not the kill. The kill is just like, the kill enforces that behavior and that role play so they know that this is an out for them. But also, it feels more real for them. They were in a scary, dark dungeon. A group of murderous orcs happened to storm in. They had to negotiate their way out of it. They survived. They're out a few coins, but they survived, and that's a little story that happened. You know what I mean? That's something fun that happened in the game. So that's what we chase.
So that actually reminds me of two things. Hopefully I can remember the second one. But the first one is what and what you just talked about goes into what I like to call presence. And you have presence and reputation like organically. And perfect example of this is when I first started running Sanct Cross as my detect mage, or detect summoner, I was catching thieves left and right because nobody knew that I was Baj. But now that a lot of people do know that I'm Baj, when I run into a dungeon as Sanct Cross, I can see thieves going to gate automatically. They will just leave the dungeon without me even. It's like I'll reveal them and point at them, and they'll be like, all right, I'm leaving. And they leave the dungeon and shit like that. And that is the way to actually kill thieves, in my opinion, because for one, you don't get a vendetta. You know what I'm saying? Because a man with a vendetta will just keep coming back and will just keep being annoying. You don't want that. You want to actually disarm them and get them out of the dungeons, right? So that's how you manage that. And so I'll let thieves go all the fucking time if they actually leave and they don't. I have told, it's like, if you don't harm Path or Alliance, and it's like I might turn a blind eye until I catch you being actually gray, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of thieves that I have that agreement with merely because they roleplay a lot. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, if you roleplay, it's like we can play that dynamic, but some of them don't, and the ones that don't know just to leave the dungeon. And that goes into presence, where it's like, that's, like you said, that's the win. And it's like, that's the true win. And because I didn't even have to lift a finger, they just leave.
Yeah, no, and it's a way that, like, and another thing too, I got to give you credit, man. You are able to distinguish, and it sounds super nerdy, bro, when I say it out loud, actually, but some people really struggle differentiating the game from the human beings behind them. from like the intentions of the game. So the role play from the reality, and like it's on both sides, man. But like I'll tell you a quick story. This is kind of like to toot your horn a little bit, I guess, but or to pat yourself on the back. But there was an instance where some of your blue response mates like chased me and another orc. It was like a lot of people, and they chased us like forever just to get a kill, and it felt excessive in the moment, you know. But I get it. I'm not like complaining about it, but I get how that it could easily turn that way, right? And I think they chased us all the way to the fort. They killed one or something, and then they just like house camped for a little bit, and then they left. And you were like, "Oh, sorry about that," and you chunked me a Prev coin. I don't know if you remember that or whatever. Do you just keep Prev coins in your satchel or something, just and hand them out?
Sometimes, I mean, I did for a while on Baj. I think Baj might have a Prev coin on him.
Yeah, you just handed me. I'm like, you're the only person in the server's history that has handed me a Prev coin. Just you're like, hey, sorry, you're like, sorry about that, good orc, and you like flips coin and you handed me a Prev coin, and I was like, this is a guy who gets it, man. You know what I mean? Like he gets it. You knew that. I think it was a non-path guy that was just rolling with y'all. I think he was res killing us or some shit like that. But you understood. Hey, this is kind of shitty. We don't condone it. But in the heat of the moment, I can't do anything. Here's something. Sorry about that. And you just took off. And I was like, okay, this guy gets it a little bit. You know.
Man, I very much appreciate that, and I try to be generous. You know, it's just pixels, dude. It's like at the end of the day, it's just pixels. We're here for the community. We're here for I am. And it's like, I don't know about other people really, but it's like, there's no point in playing this game for PVM to me, because I'll be honest with you, I find it to be very terrible. But the community and the people in the community keep bringing me in, and that's why. And it's just like the role I can play, that I fulfill, that I feel like I fulfill. And like you say, you separate the game from the person, and everybody's there to have fun in their own way. Some people need to seek Jesus, though.
Oh, dude, for sure. Especially shit PvP channel. Holy shit, those guys, dude.
Dude, there are some ridiculous. I don't. Sometimes I go in there just to lose some brain cells.
Dude, I'm just like meme after meme after meme of just dudes talking shit. You know, it's just crazy, man. But hey, you know what? They're playing it the way they want to. But I do think some of them need to go outside a little bit sometimes, you know. But that's okay. It is what it is. It's UO, you know.
Absolutely, it's honestly the best sandbox game I've ever played.
For sure. Well, hey, Brad, I got one more question for you. The last to kind of close this out. I asked everyone this, so I'm curious what you say. But if Owen and Luthien gave you the keys and you could make one permanent change to Outlands today, no questions asked, what are you changing and why?
Ooh, there's a few things that could definitely be changed. I think most of them would be surface level. I think the greatest. Man, I'd have to think about that for a second.
Well, you gave us the red hand one. I think that's a pretty good one. Like if you don't know the exact answer, but if you would modify red hand assist, right? If you heal a red hand thief, then you flag or something like that.
I mean, honestly, it's like if I was given the keys and told to make just one change, that change might be one of the things I would consider, but truly that's like small potatoes compared to like I think the greater issue that the lockouts have been. And and I would prefer there to be, you know, okay, so maybe rather than, and this is why I would have to think about it, because the idea just comes to mind, is I would do something like a lawless dungeon. Maybe. That would be something in the top 3 considerations, at least, where it's like a dungeon, like a challenger dungeon and the sanctuary dungeon rotate. There would be a lawless dungeon that rotates, that has its own rewards. And anybody could go in there, but there would be no greens, there'd be no blues, everybody would be gray. And that would probably be pretty sweet.
Could you imagine the the absolute madness that would ensue in these dungeons? Holy shit.
That might be something that I would consider. Another one would be just an all around the board reduction in lockouts. I don't think I could eliminate lockouts simply because of what you were saying earlier about how, you know, you know, a guild with large numbers and a large amount of reds and a not caring for the community attitude could easily just dominate the dungeon and control it if there were no such restrictions. And so it's like, I'm not sure that I have enough data to back up any super big changes that I would be willing to make flippantly on such a thing, but I would be inclined to read their data on it and make a decision in terms of, like, getting as close to eliminating the lockouts as possible.
Well, that's a pretty good one, man. And I think that is probably something most people probably wouldn't expect you to say as a blue. But, you're a true Pathfinder, man. One that you want the reds to come. So you want people, if no reds come, just like with us, right? If we don't have humans chasing us or humans to fight, then are we really reds? You know what I mean? We are yin to the yang, brother.
Absolutely. And you don't get to continually harvest wood, so to speak, by cutting down every tree in the forest. You got to plant more trees and whatnot as you go and let ones grow, and that's just how it is.
Yes, sir. Well, hey, Badge, I appreciate you coming on, man. I thank you so much. I appreciate you doing the podcast, and it was an absolute blast, man. You take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the dungeons, I guess.
You too, man. Take care. It was awesome being on the podcast.
Later, man. Later, man. Have a good one.